to tell my honest opinion on this book, The Melancholy of Resistance by László Krasznahorkai. I apologize, I butcher your name because it is in Hungarian and I do not speak Hungarian. So, I read this book for my book club and I did not love it. Took some notes, so I'll be looking at my notes while I talk to you. But I wanted to share some things that I found or some questions that I had as a reader and my opinion about this book so that others might maybe get some insight as to if they want to read it or maybe they have some answers for me for the questions that I didn't know about. So yes, The Melancholy of Resistance is the topic of this video. So first, I like this cover. And the genre is supposed to be horror, although I didn't feel that it was scary, which made me question what actually qualifies a book to be classified as horror. But I thought that this was a very interesting cover. So I liked that. It was unique. I liked how they set this up. Although there is a more recent cover that came out that has on it Nobel Prize winner, and I like that even more. It's like a black cover. So cover, one positive thing. But what I hate are the ridiculously long sentences. I don't know, is this a trend these days with literature? Because it is so hard to follow. I struggled with the sentences that are over a page long. And I noticed that a lot of European translations I've been reading have the same style, so perhaps it's a trend these days, but I'm not a fan. I do not like the very, very long sentences. That was just too much for me. And the font, so I'm gonna come close so you can see for a second here. The font, I didn't like this font. So again, personal preference, but it made it difficult for me to focus on this book. I don't usually have difficulties with focusing on the content, but I would be reading the sentence over a long time because it just would continue on, and then I would kind of zone out and think, oh my goodness, what did I miss? But when I went back to reread portions, I noticed that I didn't miss a whole lot because the plot really didn't move along as fast as I had hoped. So that was another thing. I feel bad. I feel like I'm complaining about this book, but there were more things I disliked than I liked for this one. And I could feel strongly that this was written by a man. Some of these phrases like thrusting womanhood on page 9. What is that? I mean, that just confused me. And I was skeptical about, like, what did he mean by thrusting womanhood? And really, she had to undress completely to reclasp her bra. I mean, a woman might not have written that, I feel, because perhaps not necessary. So from that point in the book, I was interested at the beginning on the train. I thought, oh, this is something interesting. But then from that moment, it kind of lost me. And I did finish it. I read all the way to the end. But yes, okay, moving on. Parentheses. What are they used for? Sometimes there's dialogue, sometimes there are like actions happening. Sometimes they're randomly put in there, I feel. If anybody has the answer to that. And again, single quotation marks with parentheses for dialogue, with questions or thoughts used. I feel like there's no consistency with that. For example, page 242, there's a bracket that says, who knows where and when, for he had lost his postman's bag. So that's just giving us kind of extra information, or perhaps his thoughts. There are no quotation marks or anything else to indicate. Little tiny things like that bothered me about this book. But there were some beautiful phrases. I liked on page 194 where it says absorbed into his anxiety. I think that was beautiful. And I learned a new word from this book, sibilant. Sibilant breathing. It's on page 237. So do you know what this word means? Because I had to look it up. I can tell you now that I looked it up. It is a hissing sound while breathing. So that was fun. I like when I find a new word or something unique for me personally. Another positive thing is I really like the character of Veluska, how he's like such a devil to his mother, but then he is like a savior to his employer. So I kind of like that dynamic, how people can be seen as completely different individuals to different people or in different situations, which goes on with your identity and where you belong. So I liked that. I liked the character. But the stretching out of words with dashes, I do like dashes, but I don't like when dashes are used to separate a word, so you have to read it like this. That bothered me. And maybe finally I will comment on the ending with the romance. Bothered me so much that a female character finally got some sort of power. She finally got what she was struggling for this whole book. And then she just falls in love with another random man. I mean, she had these other relationships and it was complicated. But come on. It's brought down to like a hopeless romantic moment at the end. Disappointing. I was disappointed in that. Maybe it's the feminist in me. And yes, so I don't know. I would not recommend this to anyone. However, I do try to read the Nobel Prize winner every year, at least one of their books. I have not watched the movie for this, so perhaps that would give some clarity on some of the things that I didn't understand through the translator. I feel like it might just be I don't like the translator. What's his name? George Sreitz. So perhaps if I could read this in Hungarian, it would be better. But there were too many things that bothered me while reading this for me to really enjoy it. My question for you, viewers, is who chooses the Nobel Prize winners for literature? What's their criteria? I guess I could ChatGPT it, but really? I was not a fan of last year's winner either, although I'm very much rooting for Korean women and female authors. I did not like that book because it disturbed me, but this, I just don't understand why it was chosen. It was not my favorite. So yes, if you want to venture into reading this, prepare yourself. It will be difficult to get through if you are bothered by those things that I'm bothered by. But thank you for your time in watching this video. And I will try to give more reviews on other books that I do like coming soon. Bye.